Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to another professional match of StarCraft 2, and what I got for you today is a Terran versus Zerg right here on Blackpink LE. Spawning in the bottom left hand corner of the map and playing with the red Zerg drones, we have none other than Team Liquid's Snute. And his opponent spawning all the way in the opposite corner. He's playing with the blue Terran SCVs. I think a lot of you are familiar with Snute, but I don't know how many of you know about this little man who goes by the name of Clem. So Clem is one of those up-and-coming Terran players, and I'll go ahead and include a photo of him that was taken, I think about 1.5 to 2 years or so ago, right now. You can judge for yourself. This man is getting better and better and better every single time that I see him play. There's no denying he's still very young, but since I recently featured Rainer in a couple of my casts already as well, a lot of you have been pointing out, hey Lowko, are there any other up-and-coming players that we need to keep an eye out on? Because Rainer, I mean, I already consider him to be one of the very best in Europe right now. He's actually on the very same team as Clem is as well. And I mean, Clem, he's very young. I think he's 15 right now, if I'm not mistaken, although maybe he recently turned 16. But regardless, he is a very high Grandmaster level player in Europe, and there's no denying that you should really go ahead and keep the name Clem in mind. Now, of course, in this particular match, he's going up against one of the seasoned veterans of StarCraft, okay? If you've been watching StarCraft 2 ever since the very beginning, I think since like 2011 or so is when Snute, I think he was on GL first, Gamer League, and then later on he joined Team Liquid. But anyways, basically what I'm trying to say is that Snute has always been extremely consistent. He's won roughly $400,000 in prize money, and he's been around for years and years and years. Of course, he's from Norway, a very strong Zerg player, one of the very best right now as well. I mean, he's always been one of the very best. He's one of those players you can't really count out. So I'm curious to see, because I haven't seen this game, of course, myself, how Clem is going to be able to go up against someone of the caliber of Snute. Now, obviously, there are quite a few up-and-coming players. I think Rainer and Clem, though, are definitely the biggest ones right now. But if you guys are interested, right, if more and more new players show up, I am most interested in covering them as well, because it's always a lot of fun to see the young guys duke it out against the professionals that have been sitting there for years and years on their thrones, right? It's always kind of funny. It kind of feels in a way that in particular games like StarCraft, they are pretty unforgiving, and it's pretty difficult for players to be up and coming, just because the seasoned pros that are playing right now, they play a lot, right? A lot of these professional gamers will be, you know, putting in probably like 300 hours or so a month, right? They are trying their very best to become better at their crafts, and if you are a new player, not only do you have to catch up to their skill level, but you also are gonna have to practice harder than they do, right? And obviously, if you've got school or you have a job or whatever, it's very difficult to catch up. But every once in a while, a new player pops up, and you know, they are definitely capable of closing that distance. Solid micro so far though, that Reaper, not losing it just yet, obviously. Also having that little SCV here patrolling the third base. Now Snute, he plays a bit of his own style. He doesn't quite play like a lot of other Zerg players do. For example, I've seen him play a lot of Roach Ravager, even against Bio, in many of his recent games. And there's no denying, oh my god, look at that, Clem being an absolute nuisance there. Even as sending the Hellions across the map here too, blocking the expansion from going up with an engineering bay here. This is gonna slow down Snute quite a bit. But anyways, basically Snute likes to play his own style. For example, instead of hiding a drone to head on over to the third base location, he just simply made 4 queens before even attempting to start a third. Now, the engineering bay there was cancelled. Snute is still going to be able to get it up. But so far, Clem is indeed in firm control of this game. I'm honestly really excited for this, because I haven't seen Clem play in probably a month or two. I met him recently in Barcelona a couple of months ago. I think that was back in like, well, I guess it's already over a half year ago at this point. Maybe roughly a half year ago. It's kind of funny how time flies. But anyways, I haven't really seen him very much ever since. I just know that he's been dominating the European ladder. It's kind of funny. You don't see people's names showing up in you know, all of the offline tournaments. Here's the thing about a lot of the young guys in StarCraft 2 as well. A lot of the official Blizzard events, they are open to players that are 16 years and older. Right, and you know, a lot of people get upset of that. Like a lot of people get upset for that, just because they're like, hey Blizzard, why won't you let the young guys play? The thing, of course, is that you don't really want to get into trouble with like child labor laws or anything along those lines, right? So Blizzard obviously is just you know, just making sure that they play by the rules and they don't allow a lot of players below age 16 to participate. So that's one of the reasons why you don't see these guys pop up in many events. And here we go. Cloak Banshee is indeed coming up right now as well. We don't see any detection available just yet here for Snute. He will end up losing a handful of drones here. 6 already going down here in total. And so far, I'm actually really liking the position that Clem is in. I mean, a lot of workers are being picked off. Eventually, it does look like the Banshee will have to pay for this with its life as well. But there's no denying that right now, Clem has got a very nice grasp on the control of this game, right? He's got the one, or he is the one right now determining where the pace of the game is headed. And a couple of Zerglings will also indeed find their demise. Beautiful grenade there, picking off a couple more of those Zerglings and bouncing them back towards the fire radius there of the Hellion. Very nicely done. I think he's gonna be turning 16 very soon. Or maybe he already turned 16 very recently. Regardless, we should be able to see him in a lot of tournaments in time to come as well. Definitely worth remembering the name. Now, Clem is going to continue onwards here when it comes to his harassment, but I do think it will be shut down here in just a little bit. Lair will be finishing up in just a second here for Snute. He did opt to go for those double upgrades really early on. This is one of the reasons why Snute still likes to play the Roach Ravager style. One of the things that you have to keep in mind when, for example, you play Zerglings and Banelings and whatnot, oftentimes you want to transition towards a really quick hive so you can get your Ultralisk and whatnot out as well. Usually that does also mean that you're gonna delay your upgrades quite a while, because you can't really, you can't really afford the gas at that point in the game to really easily get everything up and running if you are the Zerg player in this match. And this is, I think, one of the reasons why Snute still likes to go for the Roach Ravager style. I wouldn't be surprised if we're gonna be seeing +2/+2 here coming up in just a bit. And interestingly enough, right, Clem is now transitioning towards a bio-based army. Usually as a Zerg, you're gonna need Banes. But I feel like that's not going to happen. Look at that. +2/+2 will be started here. Infestation Pit already just about to finish up. Snute may very well be looking to go for both a very quick hive as well as very quick double upgrades. It's pretty greedy. It will force him in a very defensive position. But let's see if he has enough to defend against this next push here from Clem. So Clem did go for a bit of harassment. Of course, he had those siege tanks out. He's going to try and now see if he can potentially close out the game right here, right now. Now, Snute, of course, very good at playing very defensive as well. I think the Banshee's still hanging out over there, picking up a couple of drone kills here and there, knowing that, ooh, man, nice bile there actually, but knowing that these queens are going to be distracted and busy with the defense too. A lot of creep though is being cleaned up here, and that will make the defense quite a bit easier. Here go the Marines, they're stimming forward. Another bile though will zone them away here for the time being, but that does mean that this Zerg army is still close off from the one in the third base location. And all of a sudden, Clem has got an awful lot of units. The queens are desperately trying to close the distance, but remember all of the creep spread that was indeed denied. Siege tanks still up on the high ground. I think they will be picked off here eventually. But what it did do, right, is force Snute to spend a lot of his resources on army, and that does mean that indeed this hive was delayed for quite a while as well. I was actually getting a little bit worried there. I thought it was going to be game over already. Clem coming in with a pretty unorthodox kind of push. He's doing a great job, right? Look at this. He's doing a great job just denying Snute that momentum that Snute likes so very much. Now, eventually, though, definitely a slip up there by... that was calculated in the boost as well there. But eventually a slight slip up there on the Terran's player's side, and he will be forced to go back home. Spire, as well as that hive right now, coming up here for our Zerg player. So that does mean that we will be seeing Brute Lords out of him here in just a little bit. Clem, though, doesn't look like he's going to slow down with the harassment just yet. Only just now starting up +2/+2. Right? Look at the difference right here. Double engineering bay just starting up +2/+2, whereas Zerg is already finishing it up. That's a massive deal. Now, sadly for Snute, he's not going to be able to go immediately into the +3/+3 just because he needs to wait for his hive to finish up. But there's no denying, right, that this Roach Ravager based army relies on upgrades in order to hold on. Bio armies, very, very strong. They can deal a lot of damage, in particular once 3/3 finishes. But by the time that Clem will have 3/3, Brute Lords will definitely be out already. Probably significantly before that. Nice splitting up though so far by Snute. This is one of the things that Snute does really nicely, and one of the things that I really like about his play. Nice snipe there, by the way, on the medevac. But he always splits up his army into smaller segments. He doesn't really have like all of his forces in one big ball unless he absolutely needs it to. I think this is one of the keys why he can still get away with playing this Roach Ravager style. A lot of players will just simply start dropping you relentlessly, and eventually a medevac will slip through the cracks and pick up like 20 drone kills. However, versus Snute will pretty much always be splitting up his forces immediately into several different control groups once again to make sure that he can catch all of these units. He also uses biles after fungal growth very effectively, so if he manages to fungal one of these medevacs, he will follow it up with corrosive biles and shut them down. That's why he brings a couple of Ravagers as well as Infestors with this force here too. Great Aspire now coming up here. Clem is now securing his 4th base finally. He's, by the way, on Team Exceed, for those of you curious. That is the same clan as Rainer is in as well. Young Italian Zerg player. And I believe the same clan that Special is currently in too. So they definitely have a really nice setup there. Special, of course, one of the very best already. But anyways, here we go. Big engagement setting up here in the middle of the map. This is a very large army here for the Zerg. A couple of Ravagers are trying to reinforce this ball as well, but that was definitely not an engagement that Snute really wanted to take. At the same time, though, he did get a couple of Roaches across the map towards that 4th base. Just Roaches, though, so that does mean that while the Planetary Fortress will be cancelled from morphing in, the Command Center can just simply lift up and once again continue its mining here in just a bit. What that did do, though, is force that entire Terran army back home. Clem didn't really know exactly how much Snute was going to commit there. All of a sudden, right, that means he's going to have to deal with Brute Lords. That one was indeed outside of the scan radius, so at this point, Clem does not know about the Greater Spire just yet, and Snute is already doing Snute things. He is switching towards the Brood Lord. I really like this. Solid play here so far by him. Clem is now starting up somehow, some way. He knows about it. I don't really know exactly how. I guess he may have realized that he's got enough medevacs. Yeah, he's got 11 of them right now. You definitely don't really need any more than like, say, 8 or so. So he's now going to start switching towards Vikings no matter what, because it's going to be either Brute Lords or it's going to be Vipers. But here we go. Fungal growths will be absolutely critical here. Nice fungal growths first and foremost, but there's no denying that these siege tanks in the back as well as these Marines are dealing a lot of damage. There we go. The Brutelings right now will give away the strategy that our Zerg player is going for, and I wonder if Clem is actually going to back off. He immediately loads up a couple of medevacs, and he's likely going to be sending those out to maybe like the main base of the Zerg or maybe the 4th base location. I think that is one of the weaknesses of Roach Ravager into Brute Lord. You don't really have a lot to defend against a lot of this kind of drop play, like for example the one that Clem is going for right now, because the thing is your army is super slow. Still, this is a very scary Zerg army. Beautiful fungal growth once again, but the siege tanks will force his army back for the time being. Brute Lords now, though, trying to close the distance. They will indeed throw a couple of their Brutelings forward, and they force those tanks to unsiege. In the meantime, the Marines that were dropped off from this medevac ended up killing what was likely going to be an expansion there. Nice pickup there eventually, but Snute shut down a lot of those Marines already. And while he will be forced to deal with a lot of units, Snute once again shut down that momentum that the Terran player is looking for. Oh wow, that was a bit of a sloppy move there. Luckily though, oh man, that one Marine did not make the cut. Or did it? I'm not entirely sure. But luckily right there for those Marines that will be able to just barely survive to fight another day. Now I love this switch here from Clem. He's actually now transitioning towards Ghost. This is something that we have been seeing a lot more over the last couple of months in StarCraft 2. Ghosts are good against both Brute Lords as well as Ultralisk as well as Infestors. Of course, they've got that spell called EMP. It will remove all energy out of an energy-based unit, like for example the Infestor. Very, very important to land those EMPs if you do not want your army to get fungaled. But at the same time, they've also got that snipe, right? The steady shot to really deal a lot of additional damage to the Brute Lord as well. And since Brute Lords are so very slow, they're usually not going to be capable of flying away from the snipe. You can sort of force the engagement. Here we go though. Once again, a very nice position here for our Zerg player. He's got all of those Spore Crawlers here coming up on the high ground. Plus, he's forcing his Terran opponent to fight up on his high ground. Even if cloaking was available already on these ghosts, which it is not just yet, they are not going to be able to really get a lot of value out of this. Great back and forth so far though, but one of those Brute Lords did end up going down. Another base has now been secured here by Clem. He's going to continuously try and continue mining more and more of those juicy blue minerals. But at the same time, Snute has already got a very nice amount of bases taken here as well. The one thing that I don't really like about Snute's positioning right now is that he only has 52 workers. 52 is not a lot. You're definitely kind of looking for like 70 or so. Once again, solid corrosive biles though do pick up quite a lot of those units. Brute Lords in the back and great fungal growth there. They will be able to slow down that Terran army from advancing onto the creep. Creep spread looking very solid as well. This is another one of the keys that keeps Snute playing this kind of style. Every single time he loses creep tumors, he's gonna replace them immediately. Look at the amount of creep, right? This has been denied the entirety of the game. And Snute, even though I'm not really showcasing it very often with my screen, I suppose, he's continuously spreading that creep all over his side of the map. Brute Lords are trying to make use of that high ground. Now keep in mind, there are no real, what are they called, Hydralisk available here for the Terran, or for the Zerg player. That means that the majority of the anti-air is gonna come down from those queens. Nice pickup so far though, really zoning away a lot of this Terran army. Once again, a couple of these units will be picked off as well. But right now, the Viking ground, or the Viking count is really growing. Infestors now once again coming up here as well. There are, or I guess there is, a single Corruptor trying to help out with the anti-air here as well. But I think that this Terran force is eventually gonna become a bit of a menace. There's no denying, right, that Clem has got a really nice force here. I would actually prefer it right now if he just simply goes back home and groups up with the reinforcements. Right? Because he's kind of caught at a weird angle. This is a very risky move. Then again, if he gets one solid EMP, this can be game over in just a second. Apparently though, Snute has now realized as well the position that he's in. This is going to be a very slow push for our Terran player, and he's sending part of that army that he has across the map. Now, there is no observer here available, so these ghosts are dealing a lot of damage as well. At the same time, the Brute Lords are still trying to zone away. Lucky though for Clem, he does indeed have a couple of medevacs still remaining, and he will be able to eventually make use of those as well. Now, I think that these Ravagers will get cleaned up. Ugh, Clem losing a couple more of the Liberators there, but he's already now very ballsy, moving forward with his expansions here as well, taking 2 bases here all at once. And while he will be able to clean up a lot of those Zerg units as well, Snute has been busy replacing them with much stronger ones here too. He's not even going up to +3 melee. I guess that's kind of just what you get after you get super quick +3 missile, right? I guess you can just sort of get all of your other upgrades as well, just in case you want to do some Zergling run-bys, or in case you want to transition towards, for example, a bunch of Ultralisk. I still think Ultras are going to be a pretty solid choice here, right? Maybe Banelings and Ultras. Definitely a pretty tricky thing to switch into right now. I always kind of feel like Roaches just don't cut it at this point in the game. They will just simply start falling off in just a little bit. But time and time again, Snute proves me wrong. Now, solid EMP there, actually shutting down a couple of those Infestors already. They will be able to back off here, but more and more Ravagers are immediately coming up for Snute as well. So he's still planning on just simply zoning away this army with his biles. Here we go though. The amount of brutes available at this point is actually getting kind of out of hand. This is 13 Brute Lords, or I guess 12 Brute Lords now. 4 more are morphing in as well. Snute is going for an extremely defensive strategy in this game, but so far he's making it work. Look at these Brutelings just simply picking away at this Terran army. Single one of the Liberators trying to see if it can snipe a whole lot of nothing. I guess that one was just simply queued up, but a massive fungal growth there. Solid EMPs coming out here as well. They will just simply force this Terran player back for the time being. Once again though, great EMPs getting rid of pretty much all of that energy in those Infestors, and all of a sudden that means that the Terran player feels like moving onwards. Gotta keep in mind though, there's not a whole lot of Vikings remaining. They are slowly chipping away at a lot of this Zerg force, but there's no denying that at this point, right, Corruptors and more Queens are gonna be coming out as well. Another fungal growth, I think that was the last one available, will land as well, but Clem is actually not done just yet. He's got a very scary force. right? All of those infestors right now are out of energy. They're gonna need a couple of minutes in order to regenerate that energy as well. But I don't know if Clem is really gonna give it to his opponent right now as well. Beautiful corrosive balls though will be able to get rid of a couple of those liberators as well. Snipes are going down left and right, and I actually think, judging by the way that this engagement is going, Clem may just have a little bit too many units. Those infestors that got EMP'd are absolutely shut down, and our very young French Terran player is moving forward. Now, he hasn't done it just yet, though. He's still forced to reinforce a lot of this army. Look at the amount of units that are still moving across the map. Still, a lot of those snipes are coming up here for our Terran player. He's slowly picking away at all of those Brute Lords, and all of a sudden, only one remains, and even that one ends up paying the price. Corruptors are now coming out. I really feel like it's that one EMP that we saw going down, right? That one EMP that happened right around here. That one EMP shut down so many of those infestors, and it really allowed Clem to start pushing onwards. He's not done just yet, though. He's not gonna go home right now. I think he's smelling blood. He recognizes that there's a chance that he can take out this StarCraft 2 veteran. Even a lot of infested Terrans are now being used. Still, this is a very expensive Terran army. You do not want to lose it at this point in the game. Corrosive Balls desperately trying to land on all of those ghosts as well, but Clem a little bit too good for that, and he will force Snute out of this game. I'll be honest with you, I did actually not expect that to happen. I was making the assumption that Snute was going to be the one who solidly obtained the victory here, but Clem surprising us in a very solid match. I'm excited for the future when it comes to StarCraft, right? Like, I'm not going to go anywhere when it comes to StarCraft. The only time that I can see myself switching to another game anytime soon is if Blizzard announces at BlizzCon that StarCraft 3 is coming out, or like Warcraft 4, or I don't know, a Diablo RTS or whatever, right? That's the only time I can imagine myself switching to watch another kind of game. But the thing is, even if that's the case, players like Clem will make the switch as well, or at least they will be very likely to make that switch, because they will be dominating in whatever RTS comes next. Considering how good they are already, I mean, these skills do carry over to what's on our games as well, so I'm really excited, right? Because we will likely see the name Clem and names like Raynor for the next, I don't know, decade or so, right? They have a very solid future ahead of them, and considering that games are becoming, like, mechanically speaking, a little bit easier, right? Like a lot of players in Brood War, for example, they were forced to retire because of all kinds of wrist problems at like age 24, 25, 26, 27, right? That's kind of when they were forced to retire because they couldn't keep up with the young kids. Well, I don't know, StarCraft 2 obviously, mechanically speaking, is a little bit easier than StarCraft 1 ever was. So we do see some pro gamers right now hitting their 30s. But I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, if whatever game comes next from Blizzard, and I secretly hope that there is gonna be another RTS, right? Because I don't know anything either, but I secretly hope that there is gonna be another RTS from Blizzard. I do think that they're probably gonna make it a little bit more accessible once again. So maybe, right, maybe in like a decade or so, we're gonna be seeing pro gamers at like age 35, right? By that time, I'm gonna be like 60 myself. I'll still be, you know, my voice is gonna transition towards Deckard Cain's. Like, welcome to another StarCraft 4. Like, no, maybe not quite. But seriously, though, I'm really excited for the future for RTS. I know it's not one of the most popular genres, but I absolutely adore it. Anyways, before I ramble onwards about unrelated stuff, I want to thank you very much so for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. Other than that, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Special shout out to the Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. But I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I'll see you in the next one.